Hello everyone, welcome to the Archipelago live stream. My name is Liam, I'm one of the developers here at Archipelago where we create some of the world's best Lightroom presets and creative profiles for you photographers out there. Got another amazing stream for you today. We're going to be checking out Quest Volume 1. This is a brand new bundle of Quest presets featuring the first 12 sets that were released via our Quest preset subscription service. So that's Quest 1 through 12. All included in this one bundle for one incredible price. That's 43 presets, 16 creative profiles, a whole bunch of tools, all in one big bundle for $198. And that's available now from the Quest Archive store. That replaces those first 12 sets being available individually, but it represents a saving of around $66 on buying those individually. So you now get them a big old bundle, get Quest 1 through 12. So if you just joined recently and you missed out on some of those earlier sets, you can now get hold of them for that amazing price. So that's part of the Quest Volume 1 bundle that's available on the Quest Archive store. So I'll be showcasing the set today. I'm going to be editing with all 12 of those presets. And let me tell you, there's a lot of good stuff in that bundle. I can see we've got a few people in chat here already, which is great. All talking about food, which is making me very hungry. It's 7 o'clock here in the UK, 7 p.m. in the evening. I've not had my dinner yet, so don't make me too hungry with all your chat about Greek food and various other things. But it's great to be here. Great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining. If you are tuning in live, do jump in the chat. Say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from, all that good stuff. And just keep interacting as we go through the stream as well. We like to hear what your thoughts are as we go through and edit with each of these presets. If you have questions, I'm happy to try and answer them on the live stream as well. And of course, because we like your interaction, we like you being here, we always like to do a giveaway on these live streams as well. So if you are tuning in live and you're interacting in that chat as we go through, we'll be choosing someone at the end of the stream to win a free preset collection. So stick around, keep chatting away as we go through this. David says, how much dollar for the bundle? $198 for all 12 preset collections. So $198 gets you 43 presets, 16 creative profiles, and a bunch of tools. So you're going to see everything that's included in those in this stream. But yeah, all for $198 from the Quest Archive store. So before we get underway, I'm going to show you the images I'll be editing in a moment. I've got 12 amazing images. I'll be editing one image with each of the presets, but I'll walk through all of the kind of presets included in that collection, the tools, a creative profile, all that good stuff. But before we do that, just to let you know, we have launched our summer sale. So that launched today. That means you can get 30% off the Archipelago presets at archipelagopresets.com, just using the code SUMMER30. So that is live now. So if you're interested in purchasing some Archipelago presets, jump onto archipelagopresets.com after the stream. Use the code SUMMER30 to get 30% off our presets during our summer sale. And if you're a Quest member, which I know quite a few of you in the chat are Quest members, you actually get 40% off in our sale. If you log into your Quest membership, you'll see a little pop-up in the bottom right, and that's going to give you some details about how to get 40% off during our summer sale. So lots and lots of good stuff happening here at Archipelago at the moment. Mary says, 36 photos left in my session. I'll get these done by the end of the stream. Yeah, I'm sure you will. All right, so let me show you what I've got to edit today. So I've got these 12 images here. Absolutely stunning photos. And like I said, this bundle features 12 preset collections. So that's a huge amount to go through. I'm going to try and rattle through all that in this stream. I won't keep you for too long, but I'll go through each image. I'll edit with one of the preset collections, but I'll walk through all the presets that are included in that particular set, the tools, the creative profiles, all that good stuff. And like I said, if you have got questions as we go through, do ask in the chat. I'll try and keep an eye on that as we go through. It does sometimes rattle away and I miss things, but we've got a few team members. Lauren's in the chat, Lisa's in the chat. So if I miss something, I'm sure they'll jump in and let you know if they can answer that. All right, so let's dive in. Take a look at this first image here. So as we go through the stream, if you are new around here, just to let you know, you're going to see the photographer's name at the top left, along with their Instagram handle. And below that, you have the EXIF data there as well. That just lets you know the file type, the camera, the lens, that kind of stuff. So if you're intrigued, you can take a look at that up there. And obviously, you can go and follow those photographers to see more of their work. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous images as we go through the stream, including this first one here from Adita. So like I said, there are 12 sets included. That's Archipelago Quest 1 through to 12. And there's loads of good stuff in here. Some of our most popular Quest sets are actually included in this bundle, so it's an amazing deal. But we're going to start off with Quest 1 Diffusion. This is the first preset collection that we released as part of Quest when we first launched this 2.5 or so years ago, which was totally revolutionary in the preset world, having a subscription where we release new presets every single month. And this was the first one. So this is called Diffusion. This is Quest 01. And this one is a really nice, warm, creamy, soft preset. A very, very popular one, even to this day. So I've got this image here by Edita. I'm just going to start by checking the exposure and white balance, and then I'll go ahead and edit this one. So just a little bit of an increase in the exposure, but I think the white balance is pretty much spot on. It could be a bit warmer maybe, but I'm just going to take a look at the preset and we'll see what we think. So there are 3 presets included with Quest 1 Diffusion. And these are essentially 3 variations of the same preset. So they all offer the same color toning throughout the actual hues in the image, but they each have, as you can see, they each have a slightly different rendition of the highlights, the shadows, and the contrast. So preset 1 being a very natural, neutral, this will work on a well-illuminated image, something that's well exposed. This is going to give you a really nice look, and you can see it's a very, very clean look. It's slightly warmed up, very, very natural toning, quite creamy when you look at the highlights. So if you look sort of in the dress here, that's Quest 1. Just a little bit of added warmth, a little bit of creaminess, but really natural colors. If you look at the greens and the pink in the flower there, very, very natural. As we move down to Diffusion 2, you can see that's got a little bit more punch to it, a bit more contrast. The highlights are a lot brighter. So that's 1, that's 2. Highlights are brighter. The blacks are a little bit deeper. The shadows are darker as well. So a little bit more of a punchy look. And then Diffusion 3 offers a really, really soft look. And this was one of my personal favorites out of this set. So it offers that really sort of dialed back, very soft, very creamy, sandy tone to it. Really, really lovely with those muted highlights and that warm toning running throughout. So I think for this, I would probably just use Diffusion 1, the first preset in the collection. Looks really, really good as it is. Again, that's before, that's after. We've not done any white balance correction. That little bit of added warmth is just coming from the preset here. And then the creative profile that's included with this is called Diffusion, and that's set to 0 as default. And what this essentially does is it adds the look of a diffusion filter, but only around the outside of the image. So it doesn't affect the center of the image, typically where your subject is. So you can just increase this to add that really nice soft blooming around the edges of the image, similar to what you would get if you were using a diffusion filter, but instead of it affecting the whole image, it just affects the edges of the frame. So I'm going to bring that up nice and high, get that nice soft kind of blurriness around the edges here, but it kind of retains the detail in the center of the image. So again, there's your before, there's your after, and I'll show you the side by side as well. So not a drastic transformation. It's a very, very clean, very simple edit, but very, very versatile. And I think that's why it's been one of our more popular presets since we launched Quest. So yeah, really, really lovely look. Again, that's Quest 1 Diffusion. Carol's tuning in from Newfoundland. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Can I change the preset if I win for an Archipelago hoodie? Stop being cheeky, Daniel. Does SE mean that there is less presets than the one that you can buy for $98? For example, does XFilm exactly the same package has the... No. So SE stands for Special Edition. It's not a slimmed down version of the regular XFilm set. What it means is it's an extension to the XFilm set. So instead of featuring any of the same presets, they are actually all totally new presets, but they're in the same vein as the kind of sister set. So XFilm SE has the same tonality as the regular XFilm set, but it offers totally brand new presets, a brand new creative profile, and some new tools. So a lot of people will purchase both. They'll have them side by side, and they'll essentially use it as an add-on, an extra set of presets to go with XFilm to give more versatility, more range, that kind of thing. So rather than it being a slimmed down, light version, if you like, it's actually a special edition. It's unique in some way to the regular version of the presets, and they're all totally new presets, new creative profiles, and new tools. You'll see that as we get through this later, because there's quite a few special edition sets included in this bundle. But there we go, first image done, underway. Looking good. So that one there from Editor. Let's move on to image number 2 and set number 2. So this one here by Shelby. Lovely, lovely photo. I'm going to bring the exposure up quite a bit. It's a fairly underexposed image. And I think it needs a little bit of warmth there. And maybe just a tiny touch of straightening. Looking good. All right, so Quest 2. This one's called Incandesce. And this one is a very sort of bronze, coppery, and teal toned set. Really, really lovely. It leans a little bit more filmic, but definitely more stylized than the first set, than Diffusion. So Incandesce, we have, again, 3 presets included in this one. So Incandesce 1, really lovely transformation there. I love what it's doing to the greens. Just going to bring the exposure up a bit more on this. So that's Incandesce 1. Incandesce 2, a little bit cooler in the green tone in there, a little bit more teal coming through. And it's also a little bit brighter in the highlights, less warmth in those highlights as well. And then Incandesce 3, which is a little bit paler, softer, warmer, still has that nice green toning in the background as well. So for this, I think I would probably go for 1 or 2. I think 1. I'm going to go for 1. It's going to bring the exposure up a tiny bit. Now you have the Incandesce profile now set to 100 as default in this case. If I drag that to the left, you can see it kind of softens the image up. If I drag it to the right, you can see it adds more contrast and also brightens the highlights there as well. I think for this, it has enough punch just in the lighting from the actual shot. So I think the default amount of 100 is looking really good. But again, gives you flexibility. If you've got something where it's super harsh, you can bring it to the left. If you've got something where it's lacking in contrast, it needs a little bit more punch to look good, you can drag it to the right. So again, that's Incandesce preset number 1. There's before, there's after. Obviously quite a big change in the overall exposure of the image. Now on this, you could go ahead and do a lens correction just because you've got quite a lot of vignette around the outside, and I'll probably do that just to kind of clean things up a little bit, but I'll show you the side by side. If we zoom in, you can see the skin tone's looking really nice. I love the greens in the background, really lovely. You can see how it's retained the color in the flowers there. Really lovely. So that's Incandesce preset 1. And again, this is what preset 2 would look like, and preset 3. So lots of variety in that one set, even with just 3 presets along with the creative profile. Gives you a lot of versatility and range. There's before and there's your after. This month I subscribed to Quest presets, and wow, I really love it. I saw a sneak peek from the next month presets, and wow, I'm excited. That's Maria. Thank you so much for that, Maria. You've got lots of great stuff to come as part of your Quest membership. But just as a reminder, as well as getting a free set every single month, we're rolling around to our next set, which is coming out at the beginning of July. So we're very close to that time frame now already. You also get special discount on the Archipelago presets all year round. Obviously, we have our summer sale on, like I mentioned. You get an extra 10% on the summer sale as well as being a Quest member. So there's lots and lots of good stuff. We do bonuses along the way, throw extra sets out, things like that. So there's lots of good stuff. But the archive store, allowing you to purchase any presets that were released prior to your subscription, is definitely a good resource. So dive into that. And this bundle being, an exceptional saving when it comes to actually getting a huge amount of presets, a lot of content for one very, very good price. All right, so let's take a look at the next image. This one here by David, lovely photo. I really, really like this. The nice woodland scene here with the couple in the middle. Just going to bring the exposure up a little bit. I think the white balance is looking good. It could do with being a tiny bit warmer, just a little bit. And the next set in the collection is Quest 3 Dynamics. So Dynamics is a very romantic, it's quite a subtly moody set. You'll see it's definitely got a mood. It's not overwhelming mood, but it's a nice subtle amount of mood, and it has that nice romantic feel to it. Again, we have 3 presets here, Dynamics 1, 2, and 3. That's one click with Dynamics 1. You can see that mood coming through there. Definitely has that really nice vibe to it. The way that it's kind of desaturating the greens, giving us that kind of undersaturated foliage look. It's retaining the blues, but shifting the color tones very slightly in that. Really nice flattering skin tones as well. So that's Dynamics 1. Dynamics 2 is a little bit cooler. You can see the blues coming through a little bit more. That's 1, that's 2. and the foliage is pushed even more towards the green side. And you can also see that the skin tones are rendered a little bit different as well. So the luminance is brought down a little bit of extra saturation in the oranges just to offset the extra cool toning that we're getting there. And then Dynamics 3 is a nice warm preset. So they work really nice alongside each other. You can use all three in one set of images, but they each offer something slightly different. So Dynamics 1 being quite a neutral look, Dynamics 2 being more cool toned, Dynamics 3 being more warm toned. So for this, I would probably go, I quite like, I'm drawn to a couple. I think Dynamics 3, I think that extra push in the warmth, I love how it's rendering the greens in the background. I'm going to bring the exposure up a bit more. I'm going to go around about there. Keep the mood, but make sure we can see the subjects. We've got the Dynamics Creative Profile. You can see that at the top left here in the Basics panel. And the Creative Profile in this case, again, is set to 100. If I bring this to the left, you can see it's going to soften the image up. So it kind of really brings down that contrast, makes it much, much softer. Bring it to the right and you add more of that contrasty look. So again, gives you that versatility. Each preset, you can apply it and then decide how much contrast and what the tonality is in that particular image. So I think for this, I would probably just soften it a little bit, bring it down to 70. So just bring it down a tiny little bit. And that to me is looking absolutely gorgeous. Obviously in this case, we've got a blue suit and it's just kind of pushed the tone in over here to be a little bit different from how it looks. I'll share a quick tip for anyone that wants to use a preset like this that's quite stylized, but wants to retain the look of colors in something like an outfit like that. So one way that you could do this is if we jump into the masking panel at the top here, give that a minute to figure out where the people are. With the AI, it's going to figure out that that's a person there. And now we can choose to just highlight their clothing and create the mask. And now we've got a mask just over the outfit of the individual there. So there's a couple of different things that you could do here. Now in this case, you could just adapt the temperature. So you could just bring this more towards the blue side. You could bring the exposure down a little bit as well. And that's just a really quick, easy way of adapting something. If it's like a blue suit, something like that, and you just want it to be a little bit more natural to the original. And now I don't want to make it exactly like the original because it's not necessarily going to tie in with the rest of the image. But if I want to bring it to be a little bit more in line with how it looked in person, that's just a quick, easy way of doing it. Use the masking tool, mask out the clothing, and just use the temperature or tint sliders to shift around the hue. You can also do it with the hue down here as well. I've shown that in a previous live stream as well. So that's one way of doing it. Another way to do it would be, in this case, there's not a lot of blue going on in the rest of the image. So we could just go into the HSL panel, go into the saturation and luminance, and just play around with that until we're happy with the color and also the hue there as well. So if we bring that a little bit more to the right, and we can kind of go for a side-by-side for a little bit of a comparison. You can bring as much of the blue back as you want, get it as close as you want it to be to the outfit as it was. I think that's close while still feeling like it ties in with the rest of the edit. So nice and easy. You don't have to do anything too over the top to kind of get it relatively close. We could just go back into this mask panel and just bring the whites back up just to make sure that it's looking nice and crisp there as well. So there we go, before and after. That's using Dynamics 3. And we've just brought the Dynamics Creative Profile down to 70 for a little bit of a softer look. And there's your side by side. Zoom in, show you the details. Caroline says, so excited about next month's set. You're going to love it. You're going to absolutely love it. I'm going to be doing a live stream this time next week, showcasing that set before its release. So if you can join for that, do come and check that out. I'll be showcasing the set early before it's released a few days later. I'll also be doing a giveaway for a pre-release copy, so you might get your hands on that early as well. So definitely come and check that out if you can. Lauren, Quest 3 is one I go back to a ton. It's perfect paired with Asteria. Yeah, definitely. Asteria came out much, much later than this. And that is a set on the Archipelago presets website that definitely has that really nice moody tone and pairs very, very nicely with this. Again, you could kind of consider those as a bit of an extension of each other. So yeah, definitely worth checking that out if you like the look of this. Or if you've got Asteria already and you want more of that good moodiness, this is a great set to get as part of this bundle. All right, there we go. So that image there by David We're moving on to image number 4. So there's another one by Shelby. I love Shelby's photos, really, really nice. This one's looking stunning as well. Just going to bring the exposure up quite a bit and bring a little bit more warmth back into this image. And we're going to take a look at Quest for Aurora. So Aurora's a cool toned preset collection. It's got icy blues and teal greens. Again, we've got 3 presets here. So Aurora 1, 2, and 3. This is Aurora 1. Again, it's quite a clean look, very sort of modern, has that cool toning, so you can see the skin tones are a little bit more desaturated than the natural look. The greens are much more desaturated as well, but a very sort of like neutral, clean starting point with Aurora 1. Aurora 2, you can see a little bit of a shift in the greens, a bit warmer in the background. It also has a little bit more life in the skin tones there as well, a bit warmer and a little bit brighter. And then we have Aurora 3, which has that rich warmth in the overtones, which you can see in the background of this image, and still retains that kind of overall very clean look. A little bit more magenta in the skin tones there as well. So I think for this, I would be tempted to go for 2, Aurora 2. Again, we have the creative profile. This is set to 100 as default in this set. And if I bring that to the left, you can see we get less of that Aurora effect, which means it becomes a little bit warmer. The highlights are shifted a little bit as well. If I drag it to the right, you can see it actually injects more cool toning into the image. So you can see you've got that shift as we go from 0 through to 200. And I really like pushing up to 200, injecting more of the cool toning into the shadows, and then offsetting that with a little push in warmth. That for me is a look that looks really, really nice. So there's before, there's after. Again, a little bit of a change in the overall exposure of the image. So it's a little bit harder to see, but you can see here the skin tone's looking really, really nice. You can see how crisp it is and clean it is. There's no grain as default with this preset, so it has that very clean, modern look to it. But if you come down here to where the shadows are, you can see there's a little bit of blue toning just creeping into the shadows there, and that's being brought in by the Aurora profile. All right, so we're rolling through these now. Looking very, very good. What we're saying in the chat. What an incredible image. Thank you, China. And that is so stunning. Thank you. Appreciate it. Wow, love it. Doing a bundle for the earlier sets is a great idea. That cut off is about the time I started my subscription, so I'll be mostly complete with, oh, great. That's awesome news, Primrose. So you'll be able to grab this, get most of those sets that you missed at an amazing price, and then you can just pick up the other ones individually while they're available as well. All right, so next image here, this one by Valeria. I've got the next set to edit this one with, which is called Gemtones. Gemtones is another standout. I think this is a set that's very, very much loved. It has a little bit more of an earthy tone, but it's inspired by those minerals, rose quartz, citrine, jasper, and obsidian. And there's a lot of variety in this set as well. So you actually have 4 presets. So from this point onwards, you're going to start to see some of these sets growing a little bit. This is as we started to develop Quest further and offering more each time we released a preset collection. So you're going to see we have 4 presets in this particular set. And there is also a multitude of different creative profiles with this one as well. So let me show you the presets in just a moment. I think in terms of the exposure and white balance, I actually think it looks really nice as it is. I'm just going to take a look at the presets and then I'll decide if I want to make an adjustment, but it's looking really nice as it is straight out of camera. So this is Gemtones 1. Really stunning transformation. Love what it's doing to the skin tones in this. Super, super nice. You can see the highlights as well. They're quite, they stay very natural and neutral, but you can see there's a little bit more of that warm toning pushed into the shadows. Gemtones 2, that's really nice. Very, very flattering on this particular image. A bit more, the highlights are brought down quite a bit more. Definitely a bigger injection of warmth. You can see that's 1 there and that's 2. You can see the shadows are also lifted in that as well. Gemtones 3, love that. Again, it's kind of leaning a little bit more towards the yellow side when we look at the warm tones in the image. That's preset 2, preset 3. And then Gemtones 4, which is actually the black and white in this particular set. So this is the first Quest set that included a black and white preset as well. Now, if I go ahead and apply these, I'm just going to show you with Gemtones 1, you get the rose quartz profile, and that's bringing some of that magenta that we see in the skin tones there. If I bring that to the left, you can see that's without the profile. bring it to the right, and you can see how that shifts the tonality on that particular preset. Gemtones 2, we've got the citrine creative profile. Bring that to the left, you can see that's without any citrine applied, and this is it all the way up at 200. So again, a massive amount of versatility when it comes to each of these presets with the creative profiles. Gemtones 3 uses Jasper. So this is it all the way at 0 and all the way at 200. And then the black and white has its own creative profile as well, and that's called Obsidian. So that's all the way at the left and all the way at the right. So again, huge amount of versatility. I think for this, I would go for probably Gemtones 3 with the Jasper creative profile. And I would probably just increase the profile just a bit, push a little bit more of that Jasper look into it. So set that to 140. That's before and that's after. Really, really nice. There's your side-by-side comparison. So like I said, you've got 4 presets and 4 creative profiles in this set. So this was a little bit of a bonus when we created this one. This was made by Richard. We were making this as a little bit of a bonus set and giving a lot more than we would typically give as part of a Quest set. So this definitely represents a fantastic bargain for those that were subscribed at the time, and also for people that are purchasing it as part of this bundle. Gemtones is one of my favorite sets. That's Stephanie. Thank you so much. Love a good black and white, says Mary. In this picture, I love the black and white. Yeah, I agree. I think the black and white on this looks super nice. If I was doing a black and white edit, I'd use the Obsidian profile probably to the left. I like how it's just lifting up some of the shadows in the subject's face here. Just kind of, if we drag it to the right, you can see how it shifts around, softens the image up, that kind of thing. But I like this clean look that we're getting from the black and white. Really, really nice. Very, very timeless. I love the toning that we're getting there as well. So yeah, the black and white in this is absolutely fantastic. Is this Quest 5? Mine is called AQ05. Yes, that is right. Quest 5. So when we released these presets, originally we just called them Quest 5. And then obviously the presets themselves were just like AQ051, etc. But obviously now we have so many sets. You know, this month represents Quest 25. We also have tools alongside that. By next month, we'll be hitting 26. So we've actually now started to name them more clearly. That's based on feedback that we got from the community. We started to name them more clearly. If you have been subscribed from early on and you're starting to see that the names are a little bit different, you can actually go into your Archipelago Quest account and you can re-download the sets that you've already got, and they will actually have the new naming. So if you want to kind of get them all looking uniform, you can just go ahead and re-download your purchases from your account by going into there and looking at your purchase history. You can re-download those and they'll have that new naming in there. So if that bothers you, you can do that. But yes, this is Quest 5 Gemtones. So another wonderful image there by Valeria. Okay, so next up, this one by Simona. And we're going to be using Quest 6 Emulsion for this one. So Quest 6, soft filmic aesthetic for this one. This is a set that I tend to come back to quite a lot. It's a really easy one to use because it's a very sort of natural look. It is filmic, but in a very sort of pleasing way. It's not overly kind of filmic aesthetic. It's a very clean filmic look. So let's go ahead and edit this one. It's going to bring the temperature up just a bit. Somewhere around there looks good to me. I think exposure is pretty much bang on. So let's take a look at Emulsion 1. So there you go. You can see, again, really natural look. Has that filmic tonality, but you can push that, either remove that or add more of it using the creative profile in this set. So Emulsion 1. Emulsion 2, you can see how that shifts the tonality a little bit. The blues are a little bit lighter in the background there. Skin tones are a little bit more, so they've got a little bit more saturation in them, but the luminance is also brought down as well, and the highlights are brought down. And then we have Emulsion 3, which you can see those blues are much darker there. The shadows are a little bit more muted, and definitely quite different. So again, this is one of those sets where you have the same general tonality through all 3 presets, but they offer a different overall look in terms of how they render the highlights, the shadows, the blacks, the whites, that kind of thing. So it can allow you to use this across a really wide range of images where the lightings may be changing quite a lot, and you can find one of the 3 presets to suit every lighting condition. So I think for this, probably the first preset, I think it just does a really nice job of illuminating the subject, rendering the blues in the background. I think that's lovely to me. So this has got the emulsion profile set to 100 as default. bring it to the left, you can see it removes some of that filmic look and makes it look a little bit more kind of neutral, a little bit more modern, I guess. And if we drag it to the right, you can see it adds more of that filmic tonality. So you can see the blue shifts tone. It also lightens up a little bit. You can also see, if I zoom into the subject, how the skin tones are shifting, the way that the highlights are rendering. It just kind of pushes in a little bit more of that filmic look. And I absolutely love that. I personally love to crank it all the way up. And I think on this, I would go quite high, like 175 like you have there. But again, it's great to have the option to go for something a little bit more natural looking. So if I drag it to the left so that the profile's off, this is before, this is after. You can see it looks very, very natural. And then if I drag it all the way to the right, this is before, this is after. So a bit more of a stylized look. There's your side-by-side comparison. So I've got the profile all the way up at 200 in this case. And that was Emulsion 1. I love a gorgeous film look, a fave of mine. Thank you so much. Love the phrase bang on for correct exposure, Liam. Cracks me up. Love it. Thanks, Mary. Always providing the entertainment. Right, let me stay hydrated as we go through this. All right, let's move on to the next image. So this one here by Hope. Really lovely photo. I love the textures in this one. I'm going to bring the exposure up a decent amount on this. I think the white balance is looking good. And for this one, we're going to be using Quest 7 Obscura. So Obscura, cinematic, moody, romantic. It has quite a different aesthetic to what we've seen so far in those first 6 sets. Definitely pushes much more into that cinematic look. So if you've liked one of the more recent sets that we did, Odeon, which had a very cinematic feel to it, you probably love this one as well. So this is Obscura 1. A really, really big difference between the before and after. Definitely a very stylized preset. And you can see how there's toning pushed into the highlights. In this case, a little bit more green and yellow pushed into the highlights. And you can see how the shadows are rendering as well. Really quite a big difference between the before and after. That's Obscura 1. Obscura 2. So that's 1 versus 2. And then Obscura 3. Now for this, I love Obscura 3. I think it looks super nice. Definitely playing nice with the color tones in the background, the textures, that kind of thing in this. So I'm going to go for Obscura 3. And we have a creative profile as well, that's called Obscura. And this was something a little bit different from what we've done before. This actually replicates the look of using like a piece of like plastic or a glass prism, or I think saran wrap is what people tend to call it in America, or cling film, that kind of thing, over your lens and getting a little bit of like a blurry, hazy look to it. So Obscura is set to 0 as default, but you can add that look by bringing this creative profile up, and you can see how it just brings in this softening to the top left, across the bottom of the image, and across the bottom right there as well, as if you were kind of obscuring the lens with something that was kind of like plastic or glass. So if I crank this up and then bring the exposure down a little bit, you can see how that looks. I would probably go somewhere around about there, just for that little bit of a dreamy look to it. There's your before and after. There's also a radial filter included as well. So you'll see a preset called Obscura Radial Filter. If I apply that and go into the mask panel, you'll see this mask is added, and it just plops one of these masks in the frame here. You can then move this around to wherever you want. So if you've got a source of light, or you have an area of the image that you want to add this blurry effect to, you can do that by just applying the radial filter, selecting this, moving it to where you want, resize it, all that kind of stuff. So I can just bring it up to the top here, make it much larger. You could duplicate it as well by just right clicking and pressing duplicate. You can have multiples. I'm just going to delete that very quickly. And obviously now with the updates, that wasn't available unfortunately when we released this set, but now with the updates, you can do things like making sure it doesn't affect the subject. So if I bring this down, so it actually kind of comes partially over the subject's head, I can simply go subtract, select subject, and it's just going to remove the effect from the subject and only apply it to the background. So you can use that in combination with those updates that we've had to the more recent versions of Lightroom and just have that nice hazy, blurry look. Really, really lovely. There's your before and after side by side as well. So you can see the effect in the top right, top left and bottom right there as well as the tones that are being rendered here. There's a bit of grain applied just to add to that sort of cinematic look, but you can see the colors, how they're rendering, and down here you can see the effect of that blurring. Holly's on saying, dang, worth the 4 a.m. wake up, Liam. Crikey, you are dedicated to the cause, Holly. Thank you so much for joining. Hope you're not too tired. Daniel said, I love the atmosphere and the game between the between the light and the shadows. Thank you so much. Moody Little House on the Prairie vibes. Yeah, I love that. That's a great description. That should have been the preset description. We missed the trick there. So there's your before, there's your after. Really, really lovely. So that's Obscura, that's Quest 7. Next image here, this one by Anna. Really lovely photo. I'm going to bring the exposure up, and I'm probably going to bring the temperature up just a little bit here as well. That's looking good to me. And we're now on to Quest 8 Nomad SE. So this is the first SE, the special edition sets that we released. And essentially the idea behind this was taking some of our more popular Archipelago sets and creating a sort of sister set to go with it. Something that will complement the presets that are featured in the main set, but just kind of explore a slightly different area, different color tonalities, different creative profile, different tools. Now, most people would tend to have both, and they would use the tools and the profiles from each and mix and match because they are designed to work together. So if you've used Nomad before and you haven't yet got the Nomad SE set, you're going to absolutely love this because it has that same tonality. And when we talk about Nomad, we're talking about editorial hues from the sort of 80s, that kind of era. Those sorts of editorial images, the hues are reminiscent of that kind of look, and that is the same as what we're getting in the SE set, but with slightly different presets to what you have in the normal Nomad. So if you love Nomad, you already love Nomad SE. So let me show you the presets here. Nomad SE 1, really lovely, very, very Nomad kind of esque. You can see from that very first click, it looks definitely along the lines of what you would expect to see from the regular Nomad presets, but just slightly different color options, slightly different tonality, slightly different rendering. And we've also got a totally different creative profile here as well. So this one's called Equinox. So Nomad SE 2, a little bit more of a desaturated look versus 1, definitely much, much softer, a little bit more of that teal running through the midtones as well. SE3, see it steps down a little bit and goes a little bit more desaturated, and then Nomad SE4, which is a very green heavy preset. I actually love that on this. I think either I would go for Nomad SE1 or Nomad SE4 on this. Let me know if you have a preference. They all look really good, but I think that they would be the two that I would be choosing between either preset 1 or preset 4. Aubrey says Quest 14 and 15 are the only ones I'm missing from the beginning. Wow, so many amazing sets. That's amazing, Aubrey. You just need to go and grab those. Why are you missing them still? Go and get them. You can buy those individually from the Quest Archive store. So definitely go and snag those so you can complete the set. So what we got? Number 4, number 1, number 4, number 4. I think 4 wins, which is good because I think that was my preference as well. I'm just going to bring the exposure up. You can see we have that Equinox profile applied, so that's set to 100 as default. If I bring that to the left, you can see how that affects the image versus to the right. So it definitely injects a nice amount of warmth into the image. It also affects the highlights. You can see the highlights blooming a little bit up there as well. Really lovely. I would go for something quite high on this image because I think that extra boost in warmth looks really, really nice. Now you've actually got a couple of different adjustments available for the creative profile. So when you apply the preset, if you have a certain look that you want to go for, so if you find that you tend to put the profile to a certain value, these presets here just let you quickly adjust that. So Vernal sets the profile to 30, so you get that kind of cooler look, and then Autumnal sets the profile to 135, so you get a bigger push in the warmth. So nice way to work. You can just go ahead, apply a preset, apply the adjustment to the profile there without having to move across to the side. But we'll keep that as Nomad SE4. Let's do Autumnal. And then we have 2 more tools included as well. We have the Diffuse tool, which just adds that really nice diffusion across the whole image. You can see how it softens the whole photo up. If I zoom in here, you can see the effect. And then we have specular, which affects the highlights in the image. You can see that they tend to bloom, get much brighter. So it just offers a slightly different look to the image, a bit more kind of contrasty, a bit more clarity, but also a little bit of a kind of a push in the highlights where they start to bloom, which looks really nice. I think if you want to go for that kind of more contrasty, punchy look, it's a great option to have. But I think I like the softness that's offered just by using Nomad SE 4 and then the autumnal adjustment to the creative profile. So that's before, that's after. There's your side by side. Definitely very Nomad-esque vibes from this one. Really, really lovely. I really like the way it's rendering the greens, those really nice forest greens in the background, and then that added warmth. Super, super nice. Wonderful image by Anna as well. China says, I'm only missing 4. Yeah, you should have picked that up. You should have got that sooner. That's been out for quite a while now. All right, so this is where we're at. Image number 8, you're going to see these ones just kind of render out the edits that we've done so far as well. So I've got 4 images left to edit. That's the last 4 sets included in this bundle. So we'll crack on with those in a moment. If you are just joining, welcome. Thank you for joining the live stream. I'm Liam, and we are looking at this new bundle that we've added to our Archipelago Quest preset subscription service. That's available to purchase from the archive store. So if you are a Quest subscriber, you can go into the archive and you can buy this bundle, which features 12 preset collections, all in one for $198. It's available right now in the Quest archive store. If you don't know what Quest is, you need to go to archipelagoquest.com and check that out. That's our preset subscription service where you get a new set of presets every single month for free as part of your subscription. And we release those on typically the first week of each month. And that's included in your subscription, but you also get access to purchase previously released sets, such as the bundle that you see here. You get discount on our regular Archipelago presets as well. And speaking of discount, just a reminder, we have our summer sale on right now. If you go to archipelagopresets.com, use the code SUMMER30, you can get 30% off our regular Archipelago presets. And if you are a Quest member, if you log into your account, you're going to see a little pop-up at the bottom right that's going to give you a code to use to get 40% off during the sale as well. So lots of good stuff happening right now at Archipelago. So we're going to move on to the next image here. This one by Diego. Absolutely love this photo. Diego's work's incredible. And for this, we're going to be editing with Atlas SE. This is the next special edition set in the lineup. I'm going to bring the exposure up, bring the temperature up, and that's looking pretty good to me. So Atlas SE, now Atlas is actually a retired set. It was part of our Archipelago lineup of presets. It's since been retired, been replaced with some newer presets, but it was one of those sets that has that really sort of modern look, deep blacks, very, very clean. And it's something that a lot of people tended to love. It got replaced simply because we wanted to add more to the lineup and we can't keep presets around forever. But what we did do is introduce a special edition set just so that people had a way to still have the look of Atlas with those nice modern blacks, deep blacks and modern tones. So Atlas SE is that set. It has the same tonality as the original Atlas set, but offered in these 4 brand new presets along with a brand new creative profile as well. So Atlas SE1, really nice transformation. You can see we get that nice, very kind of deep blacks, nice natural toning, very modern. There's no little to no grain applied with this. We can see SE2, a little bit warmer. That's 1 and that's 2. SE3 and Atlas SE4, which is a black and white as well. So if I go ahead and apply, I'm going to go for Atlas SE1. Now with this, you have the South creative profile, and this is set to 0 as default. And what South does is it kind of renders the highlights differently. It brings the whites and the highlights down quite a bit, mutes those, and adds a really nice rich warmth to the image whilst desaturating the rest of the colors. So if I bring this all the way up, you can see how that just desaturates the colors, adds that nice rich warm overtone, brings the highlights and the whites down, and just gives that really, really nice, almost vintage feel to the image. Now, again, we've got some adjustments to creative profile included. So you have the southeast and southwest adjustments. They just quickly set the creative profile to 50 and southwest sets it to 150. So again, nice quick way to adjust the profile. And then with the black and white, you have northeast and northwest, which again, just adjust the north creative profile that we have here. You can see that's it at the left at 0. That's it all the way to the right at 200. So again, a lot of variety. I really like this, this black and white and how the creative profile just pushes a little bit more blue into the image, renders the highlights a little bit differently, deepens the shadows. But for this, I'm going to go for a color. I'm going to go for Atlas SE1. I'm going to probably leave the creative profile at 0 just because I like the natural toning that we're getting there. There's your before, there's your after, and there is the side by side. Really lovely. You can see that the grain is set to 35 on this. So it has a little bit of grain just for the texture, but the grain size is quite small. So 35, so you can kind of just get a little bit of texture running through, but it's not a heavy grain. It's not anything that's sort of like very stylistic in the grain. It's not filmic. It's a very modern sort of look. Really flattering skin tones here as well. Love how it's rendered the hair color. Super nice. Sarah said, one of the first sets that I got. That's a great place to start for sure. Daniel says, one click. Yeah, one click, boom. Atlas is my go-to for a clean, modern look, says Aubrey. Yeah, for sure. Such a perfect edit. Thank you, Lauren. All right, so next image, this one by Amelia. Really lovely photo. I love the composition of this with the kind of crop where we just see the bottom half of the subject's heads there, and the focus is on the details, their outfits, the bouquet, all that kind of good stuff. Just going to go ahead and do a white balance correction on this. I'm just going to go down there somewhere, I think. Add a little bit more warmth. Bring the exposure up just a bit. All right, for this one, we're going to be using XFilm SE. So this is another special edition set. This one, again, a sister set to the regular XFilm set. XFilm standing for expired film. So it has that very nice filmic look, but with those expired film tones where you get the muted highlights, the muted shadows, and a little bit of a shift in tonality. The colors are definitely much more desaturated, that kind of look. XFilm's been around for a while, definitely a very, very popular set, and this builds on that. We have, again, 4 presets with this one, including a black and white. So first preset, XFilm SE1, really, really lovely. You can see how it renders the tones there in a very, very nice classic way. Love the colors that we're getting in the bouquet there. Love how it's rendering the highlights and shadows as well. A little bit of an extra injection of warmth, nothing too drastic, but just a little bit warmer than the default. Then we have XFilm SE2, much more blue. You can see how the blue's coming through in the shadows, in the suit, in the doorway, and then the highlights and the midtones are a little bit more neutral looking. XFilm SE3, much more warm toning throughout. So if I compare that to 1, where you've got a little bit more of the green, and then SE3 leans a little bit more magenta. It's very warm as it runs through, has a little bit more magenta in both the shadows and the highlights as well. And then we have XFilm SE4, which is the black and white. Again, a very classic look, that nice filmic look. If I go ahead and apply a preset, a color preset first, I think I'll probably go for SE2. I like the way that the blues are pulling through here. It's going to bring the exposure up a little bit. The creative profile is called Pull Push, and this essentially emulates the process of pulling or pushing film. Typically when you pull film, which is part of the development process, it renders less contrast. So if I drag this to the left, you can see how there's less contrast in that, less definition between the highlights and the shadows. And then push processing essentially renders typically more grain and much more contrast in the image. So if I drag that to the right, you can see that renders that pushed film look. For this, I really like it at the default amount of 100, and that kind of gives a very neutral starting point, and it's probably what you're going to use most of the time, but you have the option of flexibility there to pull or push. Alongside that, we have the pushed and pulled grain. Pushed grain just adds a heavier grain with a larger size. Pulled is a much softer, finer grain. So again, they kind of complement those two options really nicely. And then we have the expired film tone. So with the original XFilm set, the creative profile was called Character, or is called Character. And when you increase that, it adds more of that expired film look, where it kind of mutes the highlights, mutes the shadows. You get that kind of crushed blacks, crushed whites look. and we can emulate that in this set with the expired film tone. So you can see without and with, it just leans a little bit more into the expired tonality where we kind of crush the highlights and shadows. So if you like that look, you can go ahead and apply this preset and that'll just adapt that particular preset. That works with the black and white as well. So if I go ahead and apply XFilm SE4, we have the pull push black and white in this case. So we can go for a pulled look or a pushed look. I'll leave that at 100. And again, we can still use the expired film tone if you want to kind of get that particular look. So there's your before, there's after with the black and white. I'm going to go back to the color edit. So XFilm SE2, and there's the side by side. Apologies if you can hear my dog. He's in the garden barking away. No doubt it's someone posting something. Sausage dog on the prowl. All right, what we're saying in the chat, XFilm is my favorite. I can't wait to see what you do with this edit. Oh, that's awesome to hear. Thank you so much. I love XFilm SE. I always use it on my Christmas stuff. It's just so velvety. That's a great description, Sarah. Drooling, says Stephanie, I'll be grabbing this one. Beautiful tones. Yeah, you're going to love this. If you like XFilm, you're definitely going to like this set. It complements it beautifully. Really nice to have in your collection. I absolutely have to try... Does XFilm, the XFilm presets? Yeah, you've got to try them, David. Give them a whirl. Team XFilm, says David. Yeah, I love that. Need to get t-shirts, right? I've got to get XFilm. So pretty. Wow, love that. Thank you so much, everyone. All right, so that image there by Amelia, edited with XFilm SE, the special edition set to partner with the regular Archipelago XFilm set. All right, so next up we have this image here by Casey. This is a wonderful photo. Every time I come across this in the images that we have on file, I always stop and look at it because it's such a nice photo. I love the pose of the subject here, the kind of very minimal background with a little bit of texture. Very, very nice photo. So just brought the exposure up a little bit there. The white balance is looking good. I'm probably not going to change that. I think that looks nice. But we're going to go ahead and use the next set. This one is called Quest 11 Instant Film. So this one offers that look of instant film. Really nice filmic colors, but instant film has its own very unique sort of look, and this emulates and replicates that very, very well. And it also has a lot of very fun tools in here that help to push that look of instant film. So let's take a look at the first preset, Instant Film 1. Now this one, again, was one of those sets where we just kind of gave so much as part of the set. So you can see there's 4 presets that are kind of the regular ones. We've added a couple of extra bonus presets in there as well. So there's actually 6 regular presets. You've got a creative profile as well. And then there's some added effects for border and some grain effects as well. So if I go ahead and hover over Instant Film 1, really, really nice dramatic shift in tonality. We get that really distinct characteristic that you get from instant film. You know, Polaroid, Instax, something like that, or FP100, which is, I believe, what this was modeled after. So one of the older instant film stocks. Really lovely. This is Instant Film 2, Instant Film 3, and Instant Film 4. So again, nice amount of variety. I mean, this is a relatively... it's a very neutral image. There's not a lot of color going on, but you can still see just in this how much of a shift there is going through those 4 presets there. And then we have the bonus presets, and these ones are bonus ones because they're a little bit more OTT in terms of their edit. They have a little bit more of a distinct look. You're not necessarily going to use these ones all the time, but they're a really nice option to give a little bit more of that distinct instant film look. So you can see with this one, you get those bars of light running down, which is very reminiscent of light leaks that you would see from instant film in the way that it kind of, allows light to come through, and also the way that it develops the film instantly once you've shot the photo. And then we also have Vintage Film 2, which again has a little bit more of a kind of darker look, real push in those browns, but then you can see we've got those bars of light running down the top there as well. So really good fun. I think for this, I'm going to go for one of the more classic looking instant films, probably Instant Film 1. Going to bring the exposure up just a little bit. And then we have the Instant Film Creative Profile set to 100 as default. And this is what gives it that very nostalgic instant film look. So this is it at the left, very clean, looks very, very different, much cleaner, much more detail in the image. And as we drag it to the right, it just softens it up, much less detail. Now, typically those instant film cameras, they didn't render a massive amount of detail. So this is kind of very reminiscent of that, where you get the blooming in the highlights, less detail in the kind of detailed areas. You can see there's less latitude in the image as well. The shadows get crushed, all that kind of good stuff. I'm going to leave it at the default amount of 100. I'll just talk through the last couple of things that we have in this set. So you've got 3 borders. Again, these are quite good fun. They replicate that, that instant film look. So we have border 1 with those nice soft curved corners around the edges of the frame. Film effect border 2, which is the same but in black. And then film effect border 3, which is my personal favorite, that kind of clean look. As if it's been put into an actual frame where it has a border around it with those nice curved corners there as well. And then you can go ahead and turn the border off if you want with that particular preset, and you can add more grain with the preset at the bottom there. So there's before, there's after. That's with Instant Film 1 from Archipelago Quest 11 Instant Film. We've added film effect border 3 as well. I'll show you the side by side. If we zoom in, you can see the detail there, just how it renders the shadows in that really sort of classic instant film way. A little bit more green pushed into the shadows as well, which is definitely very reminiscent of that era and that particular film style. 70s vibes, says Erin. Yeah. It's giving sophisticated Bob Ross vibes for me, says Bryn. Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. Big fan. Love the instant film look. Pushes artistic expression. That's Holly. Thank you so much, Holly. Couldn't agree more. I used these for our New Year's Eve photos and everyone loved it for the nostalgia. Yeah, that's a great idea. You know, something like that where you kind of want to... It makes it a little bit more like a memory. You know, it has that like fuzzy haziness. I always think that film photos, instant film photos, they're a nice way to commemorate a particular moment, so something special, you know, like a birthday or New Year, something like that. It's a really nice way of sort of making it a memory that you can look at, which is awesome. So definitely love that. Great edits, Liam. Thank you, Aubrey. Appreciate that. With a bare flash too, really, yeah, that's really good fun. Really emphasizes that old film style where you have the bare flash straight in the face, and then obviously using this preset to push that look even further. All right, so we're nearing the end now. We're on to the last image. This one here by Shays. We've got a gorgeous photo. This one's so nice. This one is actually the only Fuji file out of this collection. But through the rest of the images, we had quite a few Nikon files, quite a few Canon files, and a Sony file or 2 in there as well. So this is the first Fuji file. So let's go ahead and bring the exposure up on this one. Needs to come up a decent amount. I'm going to bring the temperature up as well, just because we've got a beach scene here. You tend to find that the cameras get tricked with white balance. I'm just going to bring the temperature down, the tint down a little bit as well. It's looking good. So this is actually another special edition set. So although this isn't called SE, this one is Archipelago Quest 12 LXCQ. This is sort of another special edition set. It's based on the original LXC set with a slightly different look. So if you know LXC, that came out many years ago, very much loved in the lineup. We've done different variations of that across the years, including the current set that we have in the Archipelago presets store, which is called LXCR. And this goes alongside that. This is a sister to LXCR. This is called LXCQ. So again, it has that very recognizable LXC tonality to it, but this one is presented in a light and airy way. So it's a really nice light and airy preset. You've got 3 different presets in this, along with the creative profile and the light and air tool. So let me show you LXCQ1. An absolutely stunning transformation with just one click. Super nice. I love the rendering of the colors. Love the way that it's kind of rendering the shadows, the highlights. Everything's just looking really nicely balanced. It's just lifting some of that warm tone in the sand, skin tones, the hair, but we retain that kind of nice neutral look to the grays in the image there. Super nice. So that's LXCQ1. LXCQ2 is more cool toned. You can see the shadows are lifted a little bit more. There's definitely more blue running through the midtones and shadows, a little bit more desaturated look. And then LXCQ3, which is an overly warm preset, really pushes into that warmth. Very pretty. And actually, I think for this, that's what I would use, just because it had that beach look. And I tend to find that pushing into that warmth can look really nice. So I'm going to go for LXCQ3. And then we have the light and air creative profile, which is set to 0 as default. And obviously you can just jump up here and play around with that. But we also have the LSE light and air preset, and that does two things. So it sets the creative profile, increases light and air, I think to 100, I'll double check in a moment. But it increases the creative profile, gives that light and airy look, which you'll see in a moment. But it also applies lens corrections if that's not already applied. So a lot of cameras will tend to have lens corrections already on now, but not all. And certainly if you have files from older cameras, they wouldn't have done that automatically. This just applies the lens correction and increases the creative profile. So you can see with one click, it's quite a big transformation as we go from the default image to having the light and air profile and the lens corrections. If I apply that, you can see, as I said, 100 is the amount that increases the light and air profile to. So if I bring that back to the left, this is it with the profile off. All the way to the right, this is it with the profile up at 200. And this is what's giving that light and airy look to the images. So you can go all the way up to 200 and get that really, really nice light and airy look. Or you can drag it anywhere you like. And I think for this, the 100 middle kind of option is looking the best to me. Again, that's before and after. Very recognizable LXC tones, but presented in this new light and airy way. Really, really nice to add to your collection. If you've already got LXCR or you've got the old LXC set, LXCN, something like that, this is a great one to put alongside that, where the tonality definitely fits in with those other sets, but it's pushed more towards that light and airy look. And especially with LXCR, you could apply one of the LXCR presets and then switch to the light and air profile and get a light and airy look on those presets as well. So really, really nice to combine the two together. Like I said, they're designed to work alongside each other. So this one is edited with LXCQ3, profile set to 100 with the light and air preset here that applies the lens correction as well. There's the side-by-side comparison. Really, really nice. I'll zoom in and show you the kind of close-up of the subjects and the way that it's rendering everything. Very, very clean look. You can see in here, there's no grain applied as default. Really, really nice skin tones. Super beautiful. So again, before and after, and that's the last preset in this bundle, which is Quest 12 LXCQ. So jump in the chat again, what we got going on. Love the colors it brings out in her hair. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely gorgeous. The warm tones, heart, says Bryn. Love that, thank you. This set is perfection, said Aubrey. Love what it's done to the photo. Yeah, I love that. Creative profiles are so helpful, says Holly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So versatile. And we're one of the only companies that really utilizes everything that a creative profile can do. Every single set that we release has creative profiles included, and they all do something slightly different. And you can mix and match them, put different presets with different creative profiles. It's a whole lot of fun and a whole lot of creativity as well. I use the light and air profile with Nomad 3 on my beach photos. Beautiful. Love that. Nice combination, Erin. I'll have to try that one out. Nomad 3 is one of my favorites. That's a really nice, it kind of gives me the feeling of like camo sort of toning with Nomad 3. It kind of has that really nice green toning running through it. So I can imagine that working really well with the light and air profile. I'll have to try that out. Absolutely perfect, says Caroline. Love that. Thank you so much. All right, so that's going to bring us to the end of the stream. Now, obviously, in these live streams, we like to do a giveaway. So in the chat in a moment, we're going to be selecting someone to win a free preset collection of their choosing, just as a thank you for being here and interacting as we've gone through this stream. But yeah, just a reminder, this is the new bundle that's available on Archipelago Quest's archive store, and that is Quest 1 through to 12, all bundled together into one incredible set that's called Quest Volume 1, available now for $198, which is a massive saving, around $66 of what it would have been to buy them separately. And you can buy that and get a full bundle the first year of Quest all in one. Another reminder, we have our summer sale on. That's at archipelagopresets.com. You get 30% off the Archipelago presets if you shop right now using the code SUMMER30. And if you are a Quest subscriber, you get an extra 10% off the sale using the code that's on the Quest members homepage. When you go onto your Quest account, you're going to see a little pop-up in the bottom right, and down there you'll find the code to use to get 40% off if you are a Quest subscriber. So Lauren's announced the winners of the free preset collection of their choosing, and that is Holly and A Vintage Barbie. Both of you two are going to be getting a free preset collection of your choosing. Reach out to us on the email that you see in the chat there, the support email, and we'll get those sets, whichever ones you choose, over to you as a big thank you for tuning in. But thank you to everyone for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to do these. It's always great to have you along for these. I hope you enjoyed this. Definitely go and check out that bundle. It's available now archipelagoquest.com. Head to the archive store. You can pick the bundle up right now, get all of those presets, all those creative profiles, and all those amazing tools in that one big bundle. That's it from me. Come and join me again next week if you're around. I'll be doing a sneak peek of the next Quest set. That's the one that's coming out at the beginning of July. That's Quest 26 Zia. So come and check that out. Head across to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like this video as well. That's really helpful. And then come back next week for another live stream. All right, that's it from me. Thank you very much. See you soon.